Welcome to the Practice Podcast, a show created by lawyers to help lawyers in life and business without all the complicated lawyer language. Let's welcome Bast Amron founders and your hosts, Jeff Bast and Brett Amron.
And we're on. Hello and welcome to the Practice Podcast with Brett Amron and Jeff Bast. We don't need that announcer guy.
Shot out of a cannon today.
We don't need that announcer guy. We could just do it ourselves. How are you, Mr. Amron?
I'm well. How about you, Jeff? How you doing today?
Fantastic.
Yeah?
You know, I'm always happy when I'm recording a podcast, especially we got a good guest today.
We do have a good guest.
Let me ask you first, though, if you could take a 6-month sabbatical, and by the way, this is a hypothetical. You cannot take a 6-month sabbatical.
Yes,
but if you
I
could
agree.
take
I'm going to do it. Thank you.
Sabbatical, where would you go? Where are you going?
Does it have to be one place?
You know, I don't make the rules of these questions. I just make the questions. Yeah.
Are we presuming that I have no children at home?
In this hypothetical, you are free to go wherever you like without restriction.
Okay. And assuming Lauren agrees.
Yeah, I should actually direct the question that way, right?
I'd say I'd try to do some travel to, among others, the following places: Antarctica, Australia, New Zealand, and some locales in the Far East, and spend some time in those areas.
Nice. All right. I like that.
Awesome. And in no particular order, of course. How about you, Mr. Bast?
Well, I would just plan mine after yours, and I just take your itinerary because it sounded pretty good to me.
That was an easy way out, Jeff.
Yeah. You like that one?
Yeah.
Well, let's, before we take the sabbatical, why don't we introduce our visitor, our guest?
I think we should do it now.
Today's guest is Luis Salazar, a high-stakes business litigator based in Miami. May I call you Lou? I mean, I've always called you Lou. I don't know. It says Louis everywhere here. So Lou founded and led Salazar Law, a boutique law litigation firm recognized for handling business disputes, restructuring, and cryptocurrency litigation. He began his career in 1992 at Schotz, later becoming a shareholder at Greenberg Traurig before he launched his own firm in 2012. He's been repeatedly ranked by Chambers, Super Lawyers, Best Lawyers in America. He's got clients and peers praising his legal acumen, strategic thinking, and courtroom presence. But in 2025, he returned to Schotz to open their Miami office, bringing along his Salazar Law team. And since then, he's been expanding Schotz's presence in the dynamic South Florida legal market. He is also an innovator. He created Lawgile, trademark, a legal project management method combining agile principles with AI enhancements, and that project earned him recognition from the New York Times for using artificial intelligence in the legal practice. So welcome, Lou.
That's a lovely introduction. I think you need to add that I have trouble leaping over really tall buildings, but otherwise highly accurate. It's wonderful to be here. Glad to get to see you guys.
I've seen you on Key Biscayne. I think that you can leap over tall buildings.
You're right. Nice. The only time I see Brett is when he's zipping by me when we're like crossing the Key Biscayne Bridge in opposite directions, and suddenly someone just goes, "Whoa!"
So you guys, are you running as well? So they encounter each other on the road.
Yeah, I'm doing usually a walk. I used to do some running.
You're walking, and he's running.
Too beat up. I can't do it anymore.
Nice.
Of course he's running. Yeah.
So you basically know him by the trail of the dust.
Exactly.
The cloud of dust. Yeah. Okay. Yes, nice. Exactly. All right. Good. I'm glad to hear that. All right. So first, where would you go on your sabbatical?
I do one of two things. I would go to Thailand and I do 6 months of a Muay Thai camp, so I come back even leaner and meaner than before. Or I go to Buenos Aires and spend 6 months learning how to be a master of tango.
Nice. I like that.
Wow, those are the opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yes,
I like that. Though.
Right, exactly right. So as soon as I have the opportunity, I'll flip that coin and see what happens. But
I like that. Maybe you do 3 months in one, 3 months in the other.
That's right. Learn how to dance and then let's see what happens. Right. That's funny.
That's right.
Either one of those would be great. Learn a new skill set.
I like the idea of embedding yourself in a single location and really, learning a skill or the culture or whatever it is. And I'm not sure those two are that different.
I think there's a physicality to it. There's a system to learn in it. And the other component for me would be kind of physical improvement or just get an opportunity, 6 months of really focusing on on me getting better in some physical way. And I remember there's I'm sure still a firm that the partners would schedule, they were entitled to I think it was a 2-month sabbatical every 4 years or so. I forget which one is one of the larger firms. And I remember talking to a couple of the partners there at different times, and they really raved about it. They thought they really came back refreshed and energized. So
maybe it's
something to explore, man.
Good practice. Okay. All right. Well, anyway, Lou, so you started out, first of all, are you one of those people who always knew you were going to be a lawyer? Tell us your origin story, how you ended up becoming a lawyer.
Well, yes, I was one of those people who that's what I wanted to do. My story is one you hear a lot down here, a lot here other places. So I'm a son of immigrants, so it was always get an education, get a profession. That's how you get out of poverty. That's how you make it in life. That's how you get security. And I thought about jobs to do. Lawyering is the number 2 job, of course. Number 1 job is a doctor, but I don't like bodily fluids, so I did the number 2 job. It's the second best job. And it just seemed to always appeal to me, like interacting with people, helping people. I grew up in a retail environment. My old man had a retail shop, a dry cleaner, so I was always interacting with people. And being a lawyer seemed to be exactly that, but all the time.
Did you work at the dry cleaning shop as a kid?
Man, I did Washington Heights. I'm surprised you haven't heard this already. Because I say this all the time, like this is like that story, but
I want everyone to hear it.
I spent probably 15 years working in Washington. I started when I was 10 years old, and my old man sold that place when I was in my early 20s. I was just wrapping up college. And it was, so my dad did 6 days a week, minimum 7 to 7 at that place. And I would do, depending if I was in school, I'd do full weeks during summer or weekends. So it was, to me, like probably the best education that I got of all the different things I've learned, schools I've been to, the things I learned working, there and living in Newark, New Jersey, Spanish Harlem, different places I lived in. But working in Washington Heights, like that street level, man, that's just, you can't replace it. I mean, it was just an amazing experience. So
I would view you as I've known you for a long time. We've known you for a long time. I think you're a phenomenal communicator. Like, you really connect with people when you communicate with them. Do you think that working with your dad and having to communicate with customers and learning how to deal with customers, do you think that's where you kind of sort of started to get those skills?
It's a great question. I guess I'll start answering that by saying I saw what my old man was able to do, and he had a phenomenal capacity of connecting with people and remembering their names. I mean, there were thousands of people who run in there. He knew where they lived, knew their names. So that was kind of maybe an inspirational part of what I did, what got me there. But the other part is, when you see, I think it builds empathy for people living and working in that environment, see like their struggles, see what they have to go through. And so that's the fundamental part of, being a good communicator, right? Is building that connection, and then people maybe will listen to.
Right. And I think on the surface, a lot of people would think dry cleaner doesn't have a lot in common with a lawyer, but they're both customer service businesses. And most businesses are customer service businesses. And we provide a service, happens to be legal services, but, they're cleaning clothes, but it's still a service that you provide to a customer, and how you connect to them and understand their needs. If you bring in a shirt to be laundered and you dry clean it, it's not you didn't meet their need. So
when I started my first office, I took a quote that my old man used to say, and I thought it was, it just was inspirational to our starting, which was take care of the customers and make our lives possible, right? So he taught me, and so now I'm probably the worst person to go to any kind of retail store, because the minute somebody walked in, everybody stopped what they were doing and turned to the client to take care of them, right? So I always expect that when I walk in. Like,
right, you have high expectations.
So, but it was a part of his driver, and the other thing he taught me is just, he was a really top quality dry cleaners, right? So he learned that business himself, created, just would create a reputation for terrific work, and people would come from all over to clean clothes with him. So it was, one of the greatest losses I suffered when he sold that business is that all my free dry cleaning was over, right? So I would leave my clothes in the morning, the evening by the back door, and they would magically appear on a hanger, perfectly pressed, like the night of.
Wow.
So when he came back, so when my old man closed his cleaners, I was like, man, what am I going to do? So
wow. Is he still with us?
Unfortunately, he passed a few years ago, but thank you for that. No, but he did. The old man did great. Like he was a third grade education from Cuba, and he came here before the revolution. He came like the old story. He wanted to better himself, do better for his family, live the American dream. And he came to New York. I'd say he was a New Yorker because he was there probably for like 50 plus years of his life. And he did great, man. He did great. Put me through college, had really lived the American dream.
Amazing.
Yep.
And so you start out your career at Schotz in New Jersey.
Correct.
And how'd you end up coming down to South Florida?
So I always say to people that I never would have left Schotz because I really loved it there. And I guess, exhibit A of that is that I'm actually back and working with the same people that I left, right? But the big trigger for me was my mom and dad were going to move to Miami where we had extensive family, right? We're Cuban, so no surprise. They had friends from when they were children, like 5 years old, who were living in Miami. So they really wanted to retire here and kind of reconnect with everybody. And then my sister got on the bandwagon, and I was like, well, I'm the only one left in Jersey. So I guess I'm going. And I just happened that day to get a call from a headhunter, Florence Pape, rest in peace. She was a terrific headhunter. And she connected me with Mark Bloom at Greenberg Traurig. And I interviewed, and it was a great interview. They took me to, I don't know if you remember, Mark's Grove Isle. Remember, it used to be a restaurant at the end of Grove Isle for lunch in March. And there was some dude like jet skiing. And, and I say like my view was of the Hackensack Social Security building parking lot.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there thinking like, why? I really have no reason to stay other than, I like my job, but let me try something new. And
that's great. What year was that?
1997.
Okay. Yeah. Because we must have met right around that time where you came down. So, wow. Okay. So it's amazing, the journey. So 1997, and then you, like Brett and myself, left Big Law.
That's right.
To open your own firm. What year did you open your firm?
So mine was 2010. I joined a smaller group and then opened my own place entirely by 2012.
Right. Okay. And tell us your thinking behind making the move from big law to small law, because a lot of people have a hard time understanding why we do those, why we make that move.
Well, so I guess a fundamental thing is which I think you all grasp and many lawyers grasp, is that to be an attorney is to have almost endless possibilities, right? You have a degree, you have training, you can do a lot of things. And so that's, independence and ability to be independent, I think, is a fundamental part of that. So I remember that time, I think it was maybe a little before you all, Robert Charbonneau and Jackie Calderon opened their own place. Then you two did it in 08? I guess it was. Was it 08 or 07?
Yeah. 08. We each formed our own firm in 08, and then we formed a firm together in 09.
09, right, exactly. So a lot of really good examples, and you guys didn't come running back to Big Law, so that was all a good sign. And for me, it came down to that entrepreneurial bug that I got from how I grew up. Maybe you all had the same feeling too. In 2010, there was just a big feeling, a feeling of like there's a new era in law, like and literally we'll call it new law, like new ways of managing, new technologies. There was ability to start up a law firm, with stuff like a Clio and Rocket Lawyers. So there was just, I think, a lot of energy around being able to really outsize and leverage your talent in a smaller environment. And, I wanted to be independent. I really had that streak in me. So, I took the plunge.
Nice. Okay. And now here you are, full circle.
That's right.
Returning to Big Law. Very rare that you see this cycle, but so first of all, you're open. You're returning to your original firm.
That's right.
In a new office, and you're starting the office. So that's kind of exciting to me. It's a little bit of both, right?
It is. Look, my feeling is when you're in any kind of endeavor, you want to know, do you feel you're in the right place? Are you working with the right people? Are those relationships working? Do you feel you're doing it the right thing and it with some intentionality, right? So you get those feelings wherever you are. Like I felt that way when I was with my firm, felt that way I was at Greenberg when I joined Greenberg, and always felt that way with Schotz. So the fit for Schotz, it checks all those boxes. I still get that. They still have that startup energy. I don't know how to explain it. Like when I went to Greenberg in 1997, it was a big firm about to become an enormous firm, right? And it had that startup energy. The Miami office had that kind of family, that kind of intensity feel to it. So Schotz has never really stepped away from that feeling, and so going back has been like a real natural fit. And practically speaking, it's just, I think we needed the resources for the kind of cases, the kind of litigation cases that we were handling.
Right.
Lou, we were talking about a little bit before we started recording about, culture and how to create a culture, right? Mm-hmm. So what you're saying is, and I hear you in terms of this culture at Schotz, this startup mentality and this, even though it's a big firm, they have a little bit smaller firm. It's, and they have great culture. What do you attribute that to? And it sounds like Greenberg had the same thing when you were there, and obviously your firm as well, because you were driving that. But what do you see in terms of, how firms or these firms that you've been at and Schotz in particular currently are creating this great culture that has, brought you or wanted you to, to go back there?
Look, that's a great question. I wish I could tell you what the secret sauce is, right? But let me start with maybe the first big thing that I encounter kind of when I go back, right? Yeah, of course, I've worked with them over those 30 years I've been away. We've shared matters and worked on stuff in Florida and New York. So I've had that constant communication. The folks there have been mentors and lifelong friends. But, the associates that I worked with are now the managing partners. And the partners that I worked with are still there. So, my former assistant is still there. So these are people who have dedicated themselves to this firm and to each other for 30 years. So there's something about it that people say, in an environment where people easily move on, right? Very frequently move on, that they stick and they want to stick. I think there's a lot of things that play into that. What I'm always really amazed by is how much, independence, how much responsibility, how, they treat everybody like adults. Like everyone's there to be successful. They want you to be successful. And there's just always this team, let's go kind of environment, and a certain, just like a team spirit. I don't want to say jocularity because that makes it seem a little bit like in a locker room, but a certain kind of fun and excitement that they have in working every day and interacting that just has never really slacked off in the 30 years that since I've been gone, as far as I can tell. Right. It seems like I just walked into the same firm, but far more, more professional systems, of course, more technology than when I left, but the same kind of culture. And it's something they really are very careful about.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's something you have to be intentional about.
For sure.
And the proof is in the pudding. And I think the best proof is longevity. People stay. They 100%. Stick around. We've been working very hard on that here. And we've been luckily successful in large part, but it's not easy. And I think, you have to be intentional about it, but you also have to sort of be, agile. You got to, change with the times. You got to be able to, to pivot as circumstances change. And there are always some bumps in the road, but you keep going.
I think it's hard to keep people for a long period of time, especially when you're a smaller firm, because it's a universe of possibilities there. So they really have to have that sense of loyalty, and they have the sense of they're your family, and that's, you stick together.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's one thing to say that, we're a family, and I think it's very easy. When you talk about, firm culture, everyone's like open door policy, no jerk rule, we're a family. There's a litany of things that you could say. But the question is it authentic? Right. And do you genuinely care? Do you know the people in the office? Do you, one of our people had, two of their kids, spending the day in the office, and that's totally fine. And we're good with that. We love the kids. And are you really a family? Do you really count these people as family? And are you authentic about it? I think it shows when you're not. I have a question about the origin of this, you opening the Miami office. I'd like to know how that came about, because in my mind, there's a couple of, they were looking that Schotz wanted to open a Miami office, and they called you and said, hey, do you have any thoughts about who we should use? Or did you call them and say, hey, I want to come back? Or,
that's great.
How did this come about? Because I think it's really cool, and it's a great story how you returned.
I'll tell you, we've been talking about it for some time, right?
Oh, really?
Because they've been interested in expanding, and I've been interested in rejoining them, because that was always kind of in the back of my mind. But it's interesting, they don't really, their strategy is not to expand to have a presence in the market, but it's to reconnect or connect with people that they really feel that are a right fit. Right? So in my case, I feel kind of lucky that, that's their feeling about me. When I left, I had left on extremely good terms. I kind of stayed connected with them for years. And I'll say also, Glenn Moses also, who's also a fellow, alumni, you guys know him as well. So same kind of thing. And I think either of us could easily have been, been like, hey, we'd like to to reconnect with you all, and they would have happily been like, you're one of us. We know you for a long time. We know your work ethic. We know what you're like. So we'd be delighted to open an office, with you and your team.
Right.
And so I had a particular partner there who's been my mentor for a long time. I'd say he was very encouraging. Leo Leyva, who's a spectacular lawyer, and taught me a lot of what I know. I joke with him that he's like the voice inside my head when I'm drafting something, or that kind of impact.
That's a great compliment.
Yeah, and happens to be true. So he was very encouraging about coming back, about being just really taking my practice to another level in terms of resources and ability to handle larger cases. We were running up against. I'm sure you had this experience. Sometimes you go up against. In a case where you have 3 big law firms on the other side, you have a dozen people on the file, and on the other side, it's like maybe 3 to 5 of us, depending on who's available. And that's I think we've always managed that exceptionally well. My team has, but it's exhausting. So now I get the benefit of deeper bench, and we got a fantastic e-discovery team, which is phenomenal to have. I'm sure you struggle with e-discovery too. It's always a joy. And we have a phenomenal marketing team now. It's great to have all those resources,
right,
and be able to do the same work.
So they wanted Lou Salazar. They didn't want a Miami office. So you could have just joined their New Jersey office and been a remote partner, but they decided to open, or you collectively decided to open, a Miami office.
Yeah, no, I think the idea was to have a Miami presence too. Right? So it was a good synergy in that way, because we of course have a team of people,
right,
had an existing office, have a good client base, so it was a natural. And we have at least one partner who has roots in Miami. He's formerly from Miami, so he's spending about part-time there. We added a new associate that supports the real estate finance group. And our goal is to grow the office. We're going to be moving to a bigger office with more ability to accommodate additional lawyers. So we think we'll be like hopefully a 10, 12 lawyer office with a nice mix of practices, but still kind of keep that Miami energy, but genuinely feel like we're part of Schotz.
You're the managing partner of the Miami office, or how's that working?
I'm heading the Miami office. There's only one we only have one managing partner. Well, we have 2 managing partners, but they're in Jersey. And so I'm delighted by that, in the sense that one of the things I want to do is you two do a managing partner job, and part of why I wanted to go back too was to unload that kind of back office stuff, the marketing, payroll, you guys, you name it, it, right? So I was delighted to be able to tell Westlaw, I no longer need your services, right, to cut off that contract after I don't know how many years. So all those things, and little by little, I'm getting to a point where their terrific professional staff, which has also been there for 30 plus years, are taking over all the admin stuff, and I'm just practicing law and developing business, and it's delightful to be able to do that all the time. Yeah.
Wow, fantastic.
So as Jeff, I think, touched on it with your AI platform that you started, your practice has been sort of technology focused for quite some time as well. What do you see? And I know, I guess, going to Schotz, obviously you have some more resources available to you as well. But what do you see coming, with new technology or things that you see that would aid either your practice or other lawyers, that either is already online that you're using or is coming online as well?
So I'm going to disappoint you a little bit, because I do, we jumped on the Ross Intelligence bandwagon pretty early on, which is, I guess, first taste of some kind of an artificial intelligence and research. Ross Intelligence. I'm not
familiar with that.
Yeah,
Ross Intelligence.
Yeah. Ross Intelligence. So they came out, I guess, in it got to be 2013, 2014. So they were using, I guess, Big Blue. They were using the IBM computer, but it was not the ChatGPT type, artificial intelligence. So we use that. Mm-hmm. But I'd say, the fundamental differentiator for us and what really makes us highly productive was adopting that kind of agile project management system, which is which I think even you
explain
all
agile. Yeah,
well, I will, and I think what I'd say is, it's agile is a pretty common system. It's it's meant to be to project manage but allow maximum flexibility, right? And what we incorporated with that, which I think was a little bit uncommon at the time, and maybe more common with folks like you as managing partners, is a very kind of flat organization. So we have a daily stand-up at 10 a.m., which you guys do a meetup as well. But that stand-up is everyone, as part of the agile process, is they're really they have to contribute, right? So they really are encouraged to and expected to explain what part of the project they're doing, how much time they're going to need, and all this kind of after a while becomes very much kind of regular flow. We don't use it we started by using the technology to back that up, but in the end, we found the most functional way of doing it is a whiteboard with Post-its. You have old backlog, hot, and done. Right, and we tried different channels. We experimented this with a ton, but those three categories are great. And there's something about moving that Post-it
physically
moving it. And if you see the Post-it, you can also we would also measure the Post-it. So if I had to draft the motion, you'd also write down like the T-shirt size, so as a proxy for how much time it's going to take. Well, this is a long motion; it's a large, so that's going to be like 4 hours, 5 hours. So that's my day. So then I know I can only fit so many more Post-its there that I can actually do, because part of the commitment for Agile is if you're saying you're going to get it done, it actually must get done.
Yeah.
Right. So, but I think it's everyone got invested in it. And I think that's when you're asking people to handle, again, really outsized burdens, like intellectually and in terms of, hours and demands, having the ability to say, you're there, I'm listening to you, you're in charge, and you tell me how you're going to accomplish this. That's an open system. I just felt got better results. It was more fulfilling for the people who were there, because that's what we really want to do. You're herding tigers, as they say, and I want, those tigers, I should cut them loose. I want them to use that energy in a positive way. I don't want them to be siloed where I tell them exactly what to do. I want the opposite. And that kind of system, the people-based system, I think ultimately, at least maybe in the years that we have left to practice before AI totally takes over, I think it's still going to be a winning differentiator in terms of, as opposed to just a pure technology play.
I'm glad to hear you say that in terms of the whiteboard and the Post-its. And I love it. I would, to me, I'm more visual.
Yes.
And I think people seeing it, as well, I think really is helpful. I mean, there's a lot of platforms that are very similar, but to me, using, Agile, but also using some old school, I'll use technology in quotes with a whiteboard and Post-its, I think, would be super helpful. The to-do lists, having that stuff, which, I know drives Jeff nuts, but having that, in the right spot and like being able to check it off is just, there's something about being able to just cross it off the list or put a check mark next to it. I think is just, has those, mentally speaking, I think it's just super helpful.
It's dopamine,
at least for me. And,
it's the dopamine rush of crossing off.
It's
something
dopamine, right? It's, right.
You should feel the reward. As you were saying it, I was picturing actually, the dry cleaning ticket system. That's what you should have. Is like, in honor of your dad, the dry cleaning tickets, and then you can slide them over.
So I'll tell you what, one year when we had our either like it was a retreat day or the like. So I went in with my kids. We had saved all the Post-its of things that had been done in the prior, 6 months. And that's when we had the old office, which had all the glass over in the gables. And so we went up and we put all the Post-its up on the wall, and it just covered the entire office. There's so many Post-its, right? So to your point, Brett, when people came in, I said, look, we went to trouble of getting all those old Post-its. We saved them and putting them up there. So I just want you to visualize the incredible amount of work that you accomplished. And the Post-its don't even reflect it. I mean, look at all the stuff that we were able to do, and to see that. At first, of course, it took us forever to take the Post-its down. Right, There's so many. You feel this glass covered in it. But it was just a really satisfying, for me, it was satisfying, I think for them too, for the team at the time, that to see this is, we go in day to day, we kind of have a very narrow view. But when you step back and consider that what we as service professionals really get accomplished over any length of period, it's incredible accomplishments.
I like it, and it's important to measure it and reward it. And I really love the T-shirt analogy to measuring things by large, extra large, small, medium. That's
triple, extra large. We had a couple of days. We had every size possible. Right.
That's good stuff. So tell us about Lawgile. So you developed a platform, then you just abandoned in favor of Post-it notes. But no.
Well, so the Lawgile. I think there's two things that got connected there, but not necessarily were connected. Right. So we did AI with Ross Intelligence. So I think we tried to be early adopters of technology that we felt would really leverage our productivity, right? So Ross was one, because it's no longer functioning. I guess it's no longer operating, although it's in a lawsuit with Thomson Reuters, I guess, Westlaw. Law Agile is that agile project-based system that we've been talking about. It's a methodology. It's not a technology, right? So it's an agile technology that we adapted to our cases. It manages all our cases. It manages often with agile. You'll have someone developing an app using agile. So it's driven towards that single goal. So we just adapted and modified it so we can manage multiple goals at the same time, multiple cases. Each of our cases are projects. And so we visualize that in an agile project board. And again, at this point, we've narrowed it down to the sweet spot, which is backlog, hot, and done. And so every day we meet and say, like, what is going to be done today? What can we actually accomplish? And the purpose of it is if you have, at any time, since what you're doing is visualized on a board, if you've concluded part of your project, you walk up to the board and be like, what is supposed to be done today that still is up there? What can I contribute to? What can I take over, right? So it's a very open, everyone therefore gets kind of to collaborate and work on any particular project and get it done.
You're going to use that moving over to Schotz? Like, is that something you're going to continue to use? And I'd be curious to know if other offices are going to start to adopt that as well.
We are using it. So we've just continued to have our meetings and we have our board there. I'm not sure what the new office configuration is going to be like. I think among my team, I'm going to continue to use it because, given the physical proximity, that's important as well. And given that being in Miami, we're still doing a lot of Miami cases, right? That we're going to do Florida cases, even though we have part of a national firm. We're working on other matters. So the idea is yes. Well, I'll roll it out. It depends. To be blunt, I'm not really interested in teaching at the moment, right? So I don't want to be an agile teacher. I got the agile coach certification and did all that, but it's an intensive process. You really need to be dedicated to doing that all the time. And what I'm enjoying about the transition is I'm going to practice law. Right? I'm going to practice law and I'm going to develop business and I'm going to do like those things that I want to say particularly are carefree, but are not administratively driven anymore.
Yeah. Good for you. It's been a long road. So I'm glad you've taken a lot of detours and it's cool that you found your way home, but you made that home here in Miami.
Yes, I'm excited about it.
You really married the best of both worlds because you're a New Jersey firm. You brought it to Miami.
That's correct.
And it's eventual anyways. Everyone from New Jersey ends up in Miami.
Exactly right.
South Florida somewhere.
And the only other question I'll have is, have you introduced your New Jersey partners to Cafecito yet?
We have those who have made it, so we're sensible enough to come down. We do that where we have encouraged everybody to come and visit. But everybody comes down already here, knows it and loves it. So
January, February is when they usually will come.
Yeah, we're excited about it. So that's one of the things we're looking forward to when we have more offices. I mean, we have availability now, but we're going to make it a lot. There's going to be more elbow room, and I'm expecting folks to kind of come down and enjoy it. So.
Well,
that's awesome. Congratulations, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, congrats, Lou. This was a lot of fun. If you enjoyed this episode, please let us know. You know how you can let us know? 5-star review, subscribe, share the show with your friends and family, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, guys.
For more information on this show and other resources, visit fastamron.com and connect with us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram @FastAmron.